The following podcast has been rated PGN. Parental guidance is neglected.
Boy, it's been a long time since we've had a little father-son chat.
I am your father.
Father, if you can hear me, I failed.
Don't let your mother smell that beer on your breath. She'll take it out on me.
I'm here with my dad.
I know what you're gonna say, son. And you're right. You're right.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
I've abandoned my boy!
Okay, hey everybody. It's me starting it off. Welcome to Parental Guidance is Neglected, the PGN podcast, brought to you by two generations of film aficionados. And by aficionados, I mean that we both have AMC theater passes. So we see a couple films here and there. Actually, my son Jackson Burns is finishing up his semester at film school this week, and he is in the midst of finals right now, buddy. How's that going? I've already had a report on day one, and and we're getting by. Is that the term?
The good news is that my math final I can report it has been taken. It's been taken. It's in. It is complete. It's being processed as we speak.
Okay.
3 to 5 business days. I had my math final today. It was fine. It's whatever. I'll be all right.
Okay.
I have American politics final tomorrow.
Ooh.
And then after that, it's just finishing up projects. So
That's
that
projects.
shouldn't be too bad.
I hope I'm not disclosing too much. If I am, you can edit this out. But I believe the text you sent was, in order for you to pass math, out of a possible score of 100, you have to get a 7.5. Is that right? Or did you mean a 75?
For some reason, my math teacher chose to weight the homework as like basically my entire grade.
Huh.
So the final doesn't have much weight to it, as you would think. So.
Oh. Okay. But I mean, unless you got only 6 answers right on a 100-question exam, you should be okay.
That's the thing with this teacher, though, is that our final was five questions.
Okay. 5.
And each question has like 5 million parts to it, of course, because it's
right.
like, why wouldn't you just? Because why do they do that?
I don't know.
Just call them different questions.
Yeah. I don't know what else to tell you, except that I believe you can still sign up.
I'm dropping out. Yeah, that's the news.
Or you could take math again next semester, and then take it again in summer school, and then take it your senior year. And we won't go into my past too much, but let's just say I highly do not.
That does sound like a story that has happened.
A story that may have happened in a previous generation of the Burns family tree. Welcome, everybody. Before we get into everything that we're covering in this episode, correct me if I'm wrong, Jackson. We are now 1 episode away from the monumental 50th episode.
I'm checking right now. It's getting checked.
Is this episode? I think this is episode 49.
This is episode 49. That's correct.
49. So next week will be our 50th episode of the PGN podcast. And man, just think about just the handful of viewers and listeners we had at episode 1 compared to the handful of listeners that we have now in episode 49, coming up on the big 50. It's very exciting.
The golden anniversary.
Yeah. Do we do anything? Should we do anything for the 50th? Or is it just going to be a regular episode? What would we do to commemorate?
We'll think of something. Maybe we'll play a fun game or something. Or
okay,
we'll figure something out.
Well, we will have a countdown. That's a little teaser for next week. And we're very, very thick into award seasons right now. In fact, we're going to be talking about the Globe nominations just a little bit later and some of our initial thoughts on that. So we're going to be playing catch up. Jackson does have finals this week, but I know that we've got just a ton of award movie screeners at home that we'll probably try to binge, as well as a few movies out there in the theaters. Really good buzz on Godzilla.
I've heard great things about Godzilla. I'm seeing The Boy and the Heron on Friday.
Okay.
We're recording this on a Tuesday, by the way, so I'll have a review of that for next week.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit more because that movie's got a lot of heat right now. That's a big anime movie that's kind of crossing over a little bit. And then some of the movies that are coming out the next couple weeks, some of them we've already seen in advance. I think Poor Things opens this week, and you've already heard a review on that. We have an early review of Ferrari, at least for me, coming up here a little bit later. But let's before we get into all the films, let's start off with our little challenge, our new game that I started last week. Why not? But just to let you know, stick around. We got reviews of May, December, Saltburn, Ferrari, The Holdovers, Silent Night, Blue Beetle, Fingernails, and we're going to talk Globes. But last week I introduced, rather clumsily, a new game to Jackson that I'd kind of been percolating, just to kind of mix things up, especially since we're coming up on the big 5-0, of Please Love It Like I Love It. Where Jackson picks a film that he absolutely adores. I pick one that I absolutely adore, and we know neither one of us have seen it. So we're pretty much giving our reviews and hoping, crossing that our bloodline agrees on this, and we don't have to go, you're out of your mind. With that said, we're going to start. Let's start with Jackson first. Why not? Jackson he's been a huge fan, I know, of the Safdie brothers and a lot of their writing and directing they've done. For those who aren't familiar just by the name, they are behind the new Showtime show, The Curse, which is
one of them is, I think it's Benny Safdie is.
Benny Safdie is. I think Josh might be producing it. I know Ronald is, who's also one of their writing partners and the star of the film I'm getting ready to talk about. They're probably best known for Uncut Gems. They wrote and directed that movie that got a lot of heat a couple years ago, especially for Adam Sandler, but was really snuffed at the Oscars. It had won a lot of BAFTAs and international films and then did not come out. It is a movie that I did not like.
Which is a hot take. I personally love that movie.
Yeah.
Also worth mentioning, Benny Safdie, now in a Golden Globes nominated film.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer, yeah.
As well. He plays that with a really big guy who has the crazy accent, and I don't know his name.
Yeah, Benny's been acting. He's been acting for a long time. His brother Josh kind of sticks behind the camera and helps with the producing and writing. This is a movie that came out a long time ago. I think it might be their first film, or at least their first feature-length film.
Debut feature, yeah.
Yeah, it's called Daddy Longlegs. Jackson absolutely loved it. It is a... Well, Jackson, why don't you describe the film and why you love it so much, and then we'll find out if I equally love the film.
Yeah, so this is kind of my Safdie brothers hot take. I think this is their best movie, and this is again without having seen all their work, but I've seen Uncut Gems, I've seen Good Time, I've seen this, I've seen some of their shorts. I love it for so many reasons. I think it has that anxious charm that Uncut Gems has, that feeling that you get when you're like running around New York City. They do that so well, but I think that it has an added on layer of being a really heartfelt, very semi-biographic story. Obviously, the Safdie brothers are twins. This is a movie about two very young twins being raised by a single father, which was their situation growing up. And yeah, I also love Ronald Bronstein in this. I think he plays a phenomenal lead in this as the struggling single father. And he has some great work on his own. I'm not sure if he helped write this, but he
did.
He also has awesome, because he writes a lot, and he also directed a feature that I love that you would have hated. I didn't recommend you that one on purpose, but he did a movie called Frownland that I'm a big fan of as well. So I think it's just a great little piece to sit with, to mull over, and I think that the love-hate relationship they have for their father seems to really stand out in this in interesting ways.
Okay. So I'm...
Oh, boy.
Here's what I am going to say. I'm going to say that I think that this is a fantastic first film. I think if I was seeing this and going, these guys haven't done anything yet, I would go, great job, guys. And I'm taking into consideration the low budget, the fact that the actors were not, necessarily classically trained. You obviously have the two kids who were pretty much, they were playing themselves. I mean, they were even going by their real names. Yeah,
the two kids were found on the street. The Safdie brothers saw them one day and approached them. Were like, "Hey, we're working on a movie. Like, do you want to be in it?" And they were like, "Yeah, for sure."
Which is very impressive. there's something about these guys, the Safdie brothers, and I don't know what it is they really do like to have their central characters in movies be the most deplorable people. I appreciated Uncut Gems, but I could not have hated Adam Sandler's character anymore. I felt him so unredeemable. And I found myself feeling that same way about the father in this one as well. He's a neglectful father. He's very narcissistic. You find out the film encapsulates 2 weeks that he has the boys for the year. It's made kind of clear at the beginning that he doesn't get them like every weekend. It's like he sees them for 2 weeks and then they're gone for 6 months. And to see a father who hasn't been with his kids for 5 months pretty much abandoned them almost from the get-go. Whether he's, without giving away too much, locking them in the apartment or sedating them or getting a loser neighbor to watch them, it's really hard for me to start to find something redeemable in this character. At least with Uncut Gems, I went, Adam Sandler has a problem. He has an addiction, a gambling addiction that is blinding him from being the husband and the father and the provider that he should be and taking all these chances. With this guy, he doesn't seem to want to do anything except hang out with the kids for an hour and then just kind of wander the streets or run into some guys at a pub or sleep with a woman. I was really thrown by the weekend excursion to upstate New York, where he meets a girl in a bar, sleeps with her that night, and the next morning, him and the two twins are going up to spend a day with her in the country with her boyfriend. I just thought there was certain dynamics of the film that I thought, what guy is going to let this girl drag this guy along with 2 kids? That threw me for a little bit of a loop. The other thing that threw me, I love the tone of the movie. I love the pacing of it. I love the way it was shot. There is a weird dream sequence at the end that has to do with...
I knew you wouldn't like that. I kind of knew that was going to be one of the
where
things
I'm like, we just went into a different world of... Could we just have a slice of life of these people and characters without this surreal mosquito parallel morale dream sequence that really kind of took me out at the end? I agree with you. I think is his name Ronald Brosnan?
Ronald Bronstein.
I think he did good. I don't know if it was great.
Oh, really? I love him in this a lot. I think he's so great in
this. I guess the problem is that, and I don't know if I blame him or I blame the script, I just didn't get his intentions in this. It's like, do you love your kids? Do you really want to be with them? Do you not want to be with them? I also found it very funny that if that woman, his ex-wife, knew anything about him, how she would dump her kids for two weeks with this guy.
A court order is a court order, you know. You got to do what you got to do, I guess.
I know, but just after him leaving him at the school. And with that said, another movie about kind of unredeeming people, at least in my opinion, that it was hard for me to relate to him, and I wanted to.
That hurts.
But I did enjoy the film. I didn't think that it went too long. I love the kids. I love what they did with the handheld camera through all of it. It was documentary enough without being that shaky, make me sick thing. And like I said, for a first film, I can look at it and go, wow, I'd love to see what these guys do next. Daddy Longlegs for me gets a B-.
Okay. I'll take that.
It's a B-.
I won't say that you love it like I do, but I'll take it.
No.
I'll take it.
So, why do you think this movie really, really spoke to you? Because you had a father who abandoned you as well? Or?
Yeah, this really is a story of my life. No. I think that a few things. And I think that Good Time is going to be your sweet spot for Safdie Brothers movies.
Okay.
And I know that you're not probably running to go see it because you haven't had the best experience, but it's very much that like anxious style. But the characters aren't like morally unredeemable. Like
Right.
they're you want to root for them because they're likable people.
Right. That's the Robert Pattinson one, right? Drug addiction.
That is, yeah. Robert Pattinson, and then Benny Safdie is in that one as well, playing his brother. Here's the thing with things like this movie and Uncut Gems is that you're not rooting for the main character for the sake of themselves.
Right.
You're rooting for them for the sake of everyone else. Where it's like, just please be better so that everyone else
Right.
So that the mutual benefit, like beneficial, whatever of the surrounding characters of the ensemble. And I don't know. This movie to me is just so. It feels like the most personal movie that I've seen from them in a lot of ways. Like I can see them dealing with their own shit through this movie,
Right.
and like watching them go through it. But I understand you don't liking it. It reminds me in some ways of a better Fabelmans, where like Fabelmans
Okay.
I just didn't like at all because it was like I thought that the mom was super
Yeah.
uninteresting and wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Whereas this I feel like I enjoy more because it's more about. The focus is a little more centered, you know.
Right.
It's not trying to be a Spielberg
Don't-
biopic and a story about the mom. It's just a little more put together, I think.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I like the film. B-, by the way. Pretty good score for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
You know,
No, I'm not dissing you. That's just my perspective of like.
Yeah.
I also love the style of the way this is shot. I think
Yeah,
it's
shot-
so
it's shot-
interesting. It's very unique.
It's shot really well. What did
yeah.
you think about the ending and the last shot of them, just him carrying the refrigerator around and then getting on the ferry?
I love it, and I love that shot too. I love that shot. I love the music. I've been looking for the score for this movie, and no, it just doesn't exist. It's just not anywhere. It's which blows because I love the music in this movie. I wish Ronald Bronstein would come in front of the camera a little more. I really did love him in this performance, and I wish he would direct something.
You know, I will say this. I was trying to think of something redeemable about the character. As I look back now, no matter how bad things got, whether he was evicted or in jail or, forgot them, he was never really harsh to his boys. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, he might, come on, we gotta go, but he always tried to make light of it. So maybe I am being a little harsh on the character himself. I mean, for as fucked up as a human as he was, he wasn't hitting his boys. He wasn't, screaming at them. You never saw them crying because dad blew up. We just as adults knew what kind of peril they were actually in. So anyways.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just I think in a lot of ways it's more so about how his own issues as a person are affecting his kids as opposed to like direct, like, I'm being bad to my children. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
It's the PGN podcast. Parental Guidance is Neglected. 2 generations talking movies and all things about and whatever else happens to come up. I saw a movie this week, not getting away from Please Love It the Way I Love It films. This kind of segues into it. It's been several decades since acclaimed action director John Woo has made a movie here in the United States, or at least backed by the United States. I think most of this was shot in Mexico. He had a new movie come out last week. It unfortunately did tank at the box office. And I say that only because John Woo is such a revered, legendary film director. Most people know his work from his American stuff. Face Off with John Travolta and Nicolas Cage. He did one of the Mission Impossible movies. He did Hard Target with Jean-Claude. And then, of course, it was his big international hits from overseas that kind of scored him the opportunity to come over here. He's been back overseas now in his homeland making movies and some very personal dramas for the last 15 plus years. So he did not disappear. He did not stop making movies. I think he just got a little burnt out. He had a bad experience, I think, with Ben Affleck in a movie called Paycheck, his last American movie, and I think he was fed up with the studios. The new movie's called Silent Night. It stars Joel Kinnaman, who is such a fantastic character actor. He blew up on the scene in a TV series called The Killing. But they're trying to turn him into an action hero. He was in the Robo reboot, Suicide Squad. He's going to be playing Beast in the next generation of Marvel movies.
They just keep trying to force him into previous IP, and I just
I don't get why, because he is a really, really good actor, and he's fine in this. Without getting too much into it, the movie is about a father who loses his son in a drive-by shooting in his neighborhood, and also is hit by a bullet, and then loses his ability to speak. He's shot in the throat. And decides he doesn't want to use the voice box. The twist on this movie that I didn't realize is I thought it was called Silent Night because it takes place during Christmas, which it does, but it's actually called Silent Night because not only can he not speak, there is no dialogue in this movie. Doesn't that sound very interesting? It is at times, but it's a device that I think wears out its welcome. It's almost like,
I've heard.
Let's see how we're going to do a scene where we say everything with eye contact and without words. Is this stylish? Yes, it is. Is it the best action film I've ever seen? No. There, of course, is an amazing sequence shot through a stairwell that is straight out of the best John Wick movies. Joel is fine in it. Kid Cudi is in this, doing plenty of glaring. He probably loved the fact that he didn't have to say any dialogue. And as much as it pains me, Silent Night is a just slightly below average action film. Maybe worth your time on the streamers. I'm giving it a C minus.
You were kinder on it than a lot of people were. I'll tell you that. I've heard a lot. I had some friends go see it, and they were not happy with
It's so hard for me to give anything worse to John Woo, and the reason why is because I love John Woo, and in fact, I hope you love it as much as I love it movie was in fact a John Woo movie. John Woo burst onto the scenes with a fantastic action movie called The Killer. It is so good, but I personally was always slightly a bigger fan of the bombastic, if you think The Killer was over the top, way over the top action sequences of his follow-up film, Hard Boiled, starring the legendary Cho Yun-fat, who most people know from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. He was kind of John Woo's muse for many years in his earlier films. Now, Hard Boiled has probably been ripped off 500 times.
And also starring, I'm not going to let you slip past this, and also starring Tony Leung, who's one of my favorite actors.
Yep, Tony.
Known from his work with Wong Kar-wai, and also the Shang-Chi movies recently.
Legendary. Now, everything about John Woo's earlier works has been seen a million times since, the same type of photography, the same kind of action sequences. This movie influenced everything from John Wick to The Bourne Identity. But knowing that nothing like this had been seen before that this guy was trying new things, I had to have my son watch it as a film aficionado.
Yeah.
Jackson, I loved Hard Boiled. Did you love it as much as me?
Okay, I want to set the scene from the viewers at home because I don't know if they're understanding what this movie is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's it about?
The opening shot of this movie is our main character in a jazz club. Mm-hmm. And he takes a drag of a cigarette, and he downs a shot. His name is Tequila, by the way.
Tequila,
he takes a drag of a cigarette. He downs a shot.
Yeah.
He exhales the smoke, and then proceeds to play a 2-minute-long clarinet jazz solo in a restaurant. This was such a fun movie. It was just so fun to watch. It's cheesy and it's over the top.
Oh. Yeah.
And I guess this movie's been out for a million years, but I don't want to give it away for anyone who hasn't seen it. But like the twist ending of where the arms Hall used to being makes no sense.
None.
But it's just there's just something about it that's so I don't know. You can't look away. There's so much happening visually, but not in the way of just like we're throwing action on the screen and you just like it. You're really in it with the characters. The fight scenes and the choreography is so complicated and rehearsed, and you can tell, and these guys are really taking these hits. Like you can feel it. You can feel it when someone flies across the room, and you can see it in the faces when someone gets smacked on the head with a bottle. It's like it's so visceral, and you want to clench your teeth and just go with the.
It's very
with tequila.
It's very choreographed. Yeah, it's very choreographed, but it all feels very real. It doesn't feel like
that's what
staged.
I'm saying though.
Yeah.
I mean, you know this. I'm pretty amateurish when it comes to action movies. I haven't done. I know that a lot of the Tarantinos of the world that like know all their like Asian like action flicks, like Police Story and all those like big actiony stunt heavy films. Yeah. That's not something that I am very well versed on. So this was a good treat for me. It had been a long time since I'd seen a fun action movie. And there were stakes. Remember stakes? Yeah. Remember when action movies used to have stakes when it wasn't just like the two main characters that won't die? That was the one I was like, these are real people really fighting each other on a real set with real fire, and they might die. They might die. And I don't know that. And sometimes they do. And sometimes they do, and you're like, oh my god, that was a main player that just got shot in the face in front of me. Yeah.
And there's a baby. There's a baby.
Yeah. There's a baby, and there's just it was so watching the two main actors interact was so much fun. The chemistry was so there. They played off each other so well. My one critique is that there's a B plot element that was kind of like a will they won't they love story between the main character and one of the other police
detectives,
like detectives or secretaries. I don't exactly know what her position was on the police force. That I really wasn't too interested in. Like every time it came up, I was kind of like, okay, I don't really. Yeah. Give me back out there.
Yeah.
Give me back out there. I
need more white doves flying off into the air. I need I need more guys that have guns 2 inches from each other's faces that somehow they shoot 50 times right here and don't quite. I mean,
oh my God! There's this one shot in the hospital where it's so cool. Imagine if my room had like going all the way across had like a wall with a big window in it, and it's two guys and one of them's on this side and one's the other, and they're facing each other, and it's literally like they're ducking and just going like. As they're going along, and it's so funny. It's funny and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's fun, and it's like you're not gonna leave this having some prolific thing about like who you are, but it's so entertaining. It's so entertaining. Yeah.
So what are you giving? What are you giving Hard Boiled by the legendary John Woo, Jackson?
Hard Boiled's gonna get an 8.
Okay, I'll take it.
8 out of 10.
I'll take it. It'd be a 10 for me because I'm just a sucker for that. But okay, so I would say this. I would say that we each picked a movie that we loved, that we really wanted the other person to love, and I would say that each one of us really liked the other movie. Was that fair to say?
Yeah, I would say so.
Fair to say so. Yeah. So we didn't score a love, but we got a love and we got 2 really likes. So
no, that we did.
I'll take that. Speaking of action movies, next week's assignment, Jackson doesn't even know this. We have a lot of artsy films coming up, and we're going to be talking about a lot of artsy films and awards times. So to lighten things up and to make sure we don't lose all of our nerd audience, next week we have 2 top 5 lists. I saw a DC movie this week. DC is being completely redone by Mr. James Gunn and Associates, and then Marvel is also opening up a new chapter of what do they call it, Phase 2 or something, as they put
or like 10. I feels like
I don't know what it is. Next week, Jackson and I will be putting together our list of our top 5 best and our top 5 worst Marvel movies. So nerds are alerted. Top 5 best and top 5 worst. That doesn't mean we're going to go sit down and watch the ones we missed. You may have heard one that sucked, but it has to be one that you've seen. So then we can go, oh, how did you not pick that? You go, I didn't even bother to see it.
That's good.
So that's our top 5, 2 top 5 lists. I was going to do 10. I'm like, that's too much nerd talk. We can't handle that much nerd talk.
No, that is too much nerd talk. I agree.
But with all the award season, I want to make sure that some of those guys out there are happy. The Golden Globes came out this week. Before we get into all of our thoughts on the nominations, I'm going to run down just a few of the films that I saw on my own. Might also ask Jackson a couple questions on whether he wants to see them or not. And then we both saw a movie that got a couple Golden Globes, but got snubbed in a lot of other categories. But before that, I saw a little artsy film called Fingernails. This is from writer-director Christos Nikau. I believe it's his first movie. He's an AD, a first AD, who finally got a chance to take something that he wrote and directed and get it. It stars Jessie Buckley, who's kind of the go-to girl right now for independence. She was in Women Talking and Men, which we both hated, and The Lost Daughter. She's not been in our favorite movies, but she's very, very good. Also, Riz Ahmed is in this as well, Oscar nominee for... I do
love him.
Sound of Metal, Oscar. He actually won an Oscar for a short film that he wrote called The Long Goodbye a couple years ago, as well as Nightcrawler and Rogue One. This is a small film. It's about the not-too-distant future when, here's the concept, you and your person you're dating can go in and start being tested to find out if you are, in fact, really, truly in love with each other by taking a series of tests, of which the final one is when they tear off one of your fingernails each, put them together into a machine, and the machine will simply tell you if you were meant to be together or not. Interesting concept. It's very much about people questioning whether technology can truly lead us to love, especially in an age where it seems we're swiping left and right. At least Jackson's generation is. Luke Wilson is in this as well, kind of, doing Luke.
Interesting. Yeah,
doing Luke Wilson. I had a tough time watching all the fingernails getting ripped off. I love Jessie Buckley. I love Riz Ahmed. I like the concept of the film. Unfortunately, it kind of stalls about halfway through and goes to a pretty predictable ending. And when someone realizes that the machine may not be telling them the truth, Fingernails gets a C for me. Have you even heard of that one, Jackson?
Not until just a second.
It kind of came and went.
Don't know if that's high on my list of to watch. I do love Riz Ahmed, and I do.
Yeah.
I love Jessie Buckley. I don't love the movies Jessie Buckley chooses to be in.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe if I've got an off day, I'll check it out.
Did you like I'm Thinking of Ending Things? She was in that as well.
I didn't, but I also saw it on a plane, and it was so long ago that I think that I maybe need to rewatch that again because it's got so many. I mean, David Thewlis is in it.
Yeah.
Jessie Buckley's in it.
Tony Collette.
Tony Collette and who's the one guy that's everything?
Jesse Plemons.
Yeah.
I did not care for that one. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. For some reason, unbeknownst to me, I curled up and watched Blue Beetle, the superhero movie from this year, directed by Angel Manuel Soto.
And here comes the A+, folks.
The only reason I assumed that Angel Manuel Soto was assigned to direct this, because I've never heard of him before, is because he's Latino. And, of course, nobody can tell the story of a Latino family besides a Latino director. It drives me crazy when studios... I mean, let's get lots of voices and things, but it just reeks of, if the entire cast is Latino and it's about a Latino superhero, that only a Latino... I just find it insulting. It's like when you say a woman cannot direct a war film with men on a battlefield. With that said, I'm sure he's a fine director. He's bringing nothing interesting to this formula. Hey, Jackson, guess what? A young guy ends up a superhero, and there's a bunch of scenes where he's trying to figure out this crazy new suit he's in, and the suit talks back to him. And we get a lot of scenes so much. We get a lot of shots of his eyes inside the thing with little screens in front of him, going, "How do I make this happen?" I think the saddest thing about all this is that Susan Sarandon is in it as the villain. Oof. And man, if you want to see someone cashing a check, the kid, I don't know his name. He's from Cobra Kai. He plays Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle, one of the worst films of the year. It gets an F. DC,
damn. Wow.
I don't know how you're going to reinvent yourself, but it certainly's got to be better than this dreck.
Yeah.
And then here's two movies before we get into Saltburn that I know Jackson is probably going to see or may see in the coming weeks. So I'm not going to go too deep into them, but I am going to tell you my initial thoughts in case you're out there and wanting to go to the theaters or not. The first one is The Holdovers. That's been out for a couple weeks now and did get some Golden Globe nominations. We'll talk about that in a bit, but also got snubbed in a couple categories. This is director Alexander Payne's movie. He, of course, was the Oscar-nominated director for Sideways, The Descendants, and Nebraska, but he has not won yet. Pretty prolific writer as well. Paul Giamatti is in this, star of Sideways. He's been on the TV show Billions recently, and he's an Oscar nominee for Cinderella Man. And also stars a newcomer named Divine Joy Randolph. She's a Golden Globe nominee this year from Only Murders in the Building. And newcomer Dominic Sessa. This is his very first acting job. Some people are saying he should have been nominated for this one. I don't know if I agree. It's a simple enough story. Kind of the feel-good movie of the year. I'd say the Mr. Holland's Opus, or the... I know you hate this, but maybe the Green Card. Is it Green Card? What was
Green
the
Book?
Green Book of
sucks.
Of this year? It's a story of a young man who has to spend the holidays at his private school due to his mother remarrying another man and not wanting him to come home because they're going on a honeymoon. So he ends up kind of bonding with the one professor who's assigned to watch any kids who have to stay there over the holiday. Divine Joy Randolph is the cook who's also staying to cook for them. It's kind of a... it's just the concept of it. I say it sounds very manipulative. Like, what a contrivance. Of course, they both grow and change due to each other. I got real hints of like Scent of a Woman from this, where you take like the older generation and the young guy, and they find some common ground, and they both learn and grow from each other.
Right.
So it's very lighthearted entertainment. It's got a couple huge laughs. One of the funniest lines, I was laughing out loud towards the end, from Paul Giamatti.
Okay, yeah.
It's a feel-good film, and it makes you feel that. And it's really hard to not say that Alexander Payne doesn't know how to write dialogue, or that Paul Giamatti doesn't know how to act, because they're both fantastic. I'm going to be very curious to see what you think of this film, Jackson. I don't think you're going to like it as much as me. I'm giving The Holdovers a very solid B. This is a sweet film.
Okay.
It is not groundbreaking. It is most certainly not going to challenge you in any way. But I'll be very curious to hear what you think of it. The Holdovers, for anyone out there, is definitely a sweet one. And then finally, Jackson, are you excited to see Ferrari? This is an advanced review. You have not had time to see it. This opens next weekend.
I have not heard anything about this movie, so this is not high up my list. Like I would say that I'd want to watch Dream Scenario, Holdovers, American Fiction, a few of those ones before getting to Ferrari, but I definitely plan on watching it at some point.
Ferrari, starring Adam Driver, who hosted SNL this past weekend and promoting the film. And by the way, Adam Driver deserved so much better than the episode of SNL he got. I agree. I watched almost every single sketch that he did this weekend. He is so committed. He is so funny, and the writing really let him down.
I agree. I saw all those clips, and every time I was like, someone cast him in a goddamn comedy already. Please.
Yeah. He's so good, but boy, did the writers let him down on that. Ferrari is the new movie that tells the tale of Enzo Ferrari, obviously the former race car driver who started the racing club Ferrari and then turned it into luxury automobiles. It's directed by Michael Mann, Oscar-nominated director for The Insider and The Aviator. He's also Ali, Collateral, Heat. He's done a zillion. Adam Driver, twice nominated actor for Marriage Story and Black Klansman. And Shailene Woodley is in here as well. She plays Lena, his mistress from Big Little Lies. And then Penelope Cruz, four-time Oscar nominee who won for Vicky Cristina Barcelona, plays his wife, Laura Ferrari. That is a prestigious cast. You would expect lots of awards. How many Golden Globe nominations did it get, Jackson?
I didn't even see it on the list. I'm going to be real. I didn't see it anywhere.
0.0. Yeah, not one nomination. Ferrari is not a bad film. I'll tell you what. I'll save any of this. I think there's one big snub for this, but the film itself, no. It looks beautiful. The acting is first rate. Michael Mann knows what he's doing with the camera. I just did not find this that compelling a story. It's a little scattered. It really just kind of picks apart his latter lives in one race that determined whether or not Ferrari was going to get funding. The love triangle is a little predictable where it's going, but I do love all three actors. This is a movie filled with top-notch artists that ends up being an average ride. Ferrari gets a C for me, right down the middle.
Ah, wow.
Do you think you'll see it, hearing that, or knowing it didn't get any nominations, or you're like, no?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's going to depend on what I have time for. I have other things I want to see over that came out this year.
Yeah.
I have catching up to do already. So if I get to it, then I get to it, and if not, womp womp.
Right.
You know, it's not. I'm not crying over it.
All right. And then finally, sorry, before we get to Saltburn, one more. If you have Netflix, you may have seen this already. This is actually a pretty good film. May December. This is Todd Haynes, Oscar nominee for his script for Far From Heaven. He also did Velvet Underground, Dark Waters, which I think is one of his best films. It stars Natalie Portman. She's 3-time Oscar nominee, and of course she won for Black Swan. Julianne Moore, 5-time Oscar nominee, one for Still Alice. And the newcomer Charles Melton, who's one of the regulars on Riverdale. May December, if you haven't seen it or heard it already, is kind of a fictional retelling of the Mary Kay Letourneau story of a teacher who had an affair with one of her young adolescent students, and then they ended up together after she served time in jail. This is the story of Natalie Portman, an actress who is going to play her in a TV melodrama and then comes to spend a couple weeks with them to study them. This is a pretty interesting film. There are certain things I did not like about it. The score is horrendous and distracting.
Ooh, tough.
The music, I don't know why Todd Haynes made that choice, but Julianne Moore and Natalie Portman are both fantastic in it, and Charles Melton is really, really good. Who plays,
Good. Love to hear that.
Yeah, a young man coming to age, coming into his 30s and realizing he has a couple kids that are just 10 to 12 or 13 years younger than him. And I very, very much enjoyed May December. I know it's a very split movie. A lot of people seem to love it or hate it. I did not love it, but I was certainly engaged with it. And for the performances mainly alone, I'm going to give May December a B-. So I think if it's Netflix, I think it's definitely worth seeing. I don't know if I would rush to a theater.
Yeah.
But and Jackson, I would be very curious to see what you think about this, especially since you're so big into scores. Because scores.
I plan on watching this tonight, actually, with my girlfriend, Brooke.
Okay, good. Well, we'll next week find out. B- for me, and understand that's with reservations, but
okay.
I think worth seeing. Okay, with all that said, we do have a couple Golden Globes and maybe possibly some snubs for our next movie. This film threw me for a loop, Jackson, and I've been talking a lot. Please tell us what you know about Saltburn.
I have been waiting so long to talk about this movie with you.
Okay.
I am so curious to hear what you have to say about this. Saltburn, coming from Emerald Fennell, who wrote and directed Promising Young Woman. I think that came out like 2 or 3 years ago now.
Yeah, she won the Oscar for it, too, Best Screenplay.
Yeah, Oscar winner. Also starred in the Barbie movie, I believe, recently.
Yep.
Saltburn tells the story of a... I don't know where to go with this.
Well,
it stars
a young man.
I guess a young man who becomes interested in a very wealthy peer at his boarding school,
Oxford University.
Oxford,
yeah,
who spends the summer with him at his mansion. It stars Jacob Elordi, who you guys would know from Priscilla. He's trying to break out into the more artsy scene after doing. What was his big thing before Priscilla?
The Kissing Booth movies on Netflix.
Kissing Booth movies. Yeah, he's trying to break out of that. I think he's trying to go the Robert Pattinson route. In a way, but it's him and Barry Keoghan, who was Oscar nominated last year for Banshees of Inisherin, one of my favorite up and coming actors.
Yeah.
You would think this would be a recipe for a great movie. You'd think.
Oh. I'm judging.
Also shot by the guy who does all the Damien Chazelle movies. So movie looks great. Movie is very, very beautiful looking.
Barry Keoghan, who plays Oliver Quick, is, he's a gentleman that either gets pulled into or maybe manipulates himself into a rich family and ends up spending the summer with them in their home/castle, and slowly works his way into the lives from everyone from the mother to the sister. There's questions of whether or not he's actually attracted to Jacob's character as well, and what exactly he is doing there. Saltburn is a beautiful film, I think, to look at. I also think that the script is unique. and different enough that, as crazy as it is, and it's one of those films that I have a lot of questions about, and you know how I am. If I'm like, why is this person doing that? That usually shuts me out. It did not in this case. I actually very much enjoyed Saltburn.
Oh boy. Okay, we're about to have
especially with
one of those talks.
Yeah, especially with a lot of the problems that the film has. The biggest problems this movie has is most definitely the third and final act. It gets very strange, and I'm the first one to say, if I don't understand why a character is doing what they're doing, it often loses me. And Oliver, the character of Oliver, is a very tough one to figure out exactly what his motivations are at times. There are times when you're going to think he's a swindler. There are times when you're going to think he's in love. There are times when you think he is completely out of his mind. And I have a feeling he's a combination of all of them. And for me, at least, that painted a bit of a dynamic picture that while I think there are scenes that hit and miss, obviously the one at the gravesite is a little odd, and the one with the sister also struck me a little bit off. But I kind of forgave those, Jackson. I loved Rosamund. I loved Rosamund Pike in this. I loved Richard E. Grant. I loved all the humor about their lifestyle and the parties that they threw, and taking a look at that upper class people and shedding a light on them. I'm probably not going to disagree with everything I know you hated about this film. I'm still going to give Saltburn a very solid B.
Okay.
It's not but it's not listen to me.
Fair.
It's not an A. It's not going to make my top 10 list, but I was definitely enthralled.
Okay. That's fair.
Okay.
Here are the things that I liked about Saltburn before I kind of tear.
Before you
tear. I think the performances in this movie are great from everyone. Well, like great cast. Does what needs to be done. I think that this movie looks beautiful. I think that the score is 50% good. I think that 50% of the time, some of the song choices took me out of it. Where I was like, why is this playing right now? Right. I think that it has a semi-interesting setup. Here's the problem. A few years ago, Parasite came out. Yeah. And it is a gripping, brilliant, once-in-a-century movie about class,
yes,
and that follows a family in their delve into essentially becoming parasites on a wealther family.
Yeah, no, there's
they all get jobs.
Definitely parallels to be drawn. Yes,
there are parallels, and I'm not saying it's the same movie. I'm not saying this is in some way plagiarizing. I'm just saying that there is a movie that had a very similar concept that is one of my favorites of all time. The problem with this movie is its consistent need to stay apolitical. There's been a lot of talk about this online. I know that when Emerald came and talked to my school, I didn't get to go to the screening, but I know that she mentioned a lot that she's been receiving criticisms about how, what is she trying to say about class in her piece, and what do the dynamics between Oliver and the wealthy family say about her. Yeah. But she made it very clear that this movie is not political in any factor. And I think that is a really, really cheap cop-out. Because in my opinion, staying apolitical in a movie about a poor child infiltrating and murdering a wealthy family,
right,
is frankly a little bit cowardly and a little bit tone deaf.
Oh.
I think this movie is, when I look at it as a whole, and I think to add on to what you said about the third act, it's just about a really mean guy. I don't understand any of the reasons characters do things. I don't understand where the conflict arises.
Right.
Outside of this guy's crazy, and I think that makes for a really frustrating watching experience as someone who is looking for more substance in this movie.
Is he mean, or is he crazy? Because you said you thought he was just mean. I mean, I don't think it was just a mean guy who was like licking the bathwater or humping the
crazy.
Humping
It's
the grave.
crazy. I mean, I meant to say crazy.
Yeah.
But that's not in and of itself a story.
Yeah.
And I think that this movie pitched itself and absolutely wanted to be some grander comment on something in the way that it's shot,
Right.
in the many visual metaphors that it tries to entail. And I just sat in my seat and clenched my teeth the whole time at how frustrated I was with this movie.
Really?
It really aggravated me. And I'm trying to be nice here because I really do respect so many of the people who worked on this film. I just think that there is a certain level of gross tone deafness that had to have happened for this movie to just be like, nope, we're just gonna not talk about any of the dynamics here. I don't know.
I wonder if you're reacting more to her comments about the film, or is this really what you were feeling when you were watching the film?
It was. I felt this way the second that it was over.
Gotcha.
And I know that I watched this. So all of my friends went to go see the masterclass the day before I watched this.
Okay.
They all came back with glowing reviews.
Really? So they all liked it.
They all loved it. I had one friend that was like, I did not like this at all, and I am very curious to hear what you say. And so I was like, all right, I'll watch it tomorrow. And so I sat down with my girlfriend.
Right.
I watched it downstairs in my living room. All my roommates watched me watch it.
And they had already seen it?
I was like, yeah, they had all gone to the masterclass, and they're like, what'd you think? And I was like, I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
Right.
It was similar to Babylon in that when me and Brooke were watching it, there was many audible moments where both me and her were just going, what? What? And not in the way of like, that was so shocking and crazy, but because so many people, this got a lot of traction online for being like, oh my God, you have to see this movie. It's so crazy, and there's so many like insane scenes.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of shock in this movie.
There is.
I wrote down a few things actually after I saw it, just to save my initial thoughts.
Yeah.
Cover for me while I'm pulling this up.
No. What would you say is the majority of people in your world, your students, your roommates, your friends, who enjoyed it, who really who at least liked it, if didn't love it? Like, I'm not saying that they had to put it on a pedestal, but when I would recommend it.
I think that everyone who did like it, and this is not in any way a negative thing, I think that everyone who did like it was able to see it as an apolitical movie. I think that I am not able to do that.
Yeah, I have
in a
to
lot of different ways.
I have to be honest with you. No, the politics of it never really entered into my head. It was more the family dynamic of the aristocrats, and just exactly where this guy was coming from. But I think that if for some reason, when we do, I'm not going to spoil anything, but when we do finally reveal the backstory of Oliver and see where he came from and what's going on, he looked like he was pretty upper middle class. And let's not forget, he's going to Oxford. I know they implied that like he might be there on a scholarship of some sort, but I didn't really get like a class system there where it was obviously they are beyond wealthy. They are, they have a corn maze or in the back of their castle, but it wasn't like he was living in a little apartment in the flats and his dad was a postal worker. They looked like they were pretty well to do. So
right, but then where's the why? Like
right.
Then why then?
Well, then
right?
I think it comes more into him and the character of why does he feel he needs to have everything that they have when he looks like he comes from everything he should. That should make him happy,
Exactly.
Right.
And I couldn't, gun to my head, I couldn't even give you I couldn't give you an answer.
Right.
And and again, I still, we have that again, don't want to spoil it too much, but that there's a moment halfway through where it's like, okay, maybe he doesn't have the background he said he did.
Right.
But then what? Like again, it's so all over the place.
Yeah.
Here's what I wrote down after I saw it. I said, it's Parasite without the sewer. It's High Hopes without the dinner scene. It's I, Daniel Blake without the ending. Feel bad for the rich who are taken advantage of. Watch a middle-class child turn into a maniac. Fingering cures bulimia. Friends turn into enemies with one line of dialogue. Not all billionaires are bad. All is well with the world. I just didn't like it.
I get it. No, I get it. I get
didn't
it.
like
Did you hate it?
Yes.
Okay.
I did.
I gave Saltburn a B, a solid B. I think it's a film worth seeing. I would never go out of my way to recommend it to someone. I'm not saying that I think it's not, unless I go back and I go, wow, I'm really scraping the barrel. I can't see it making my top 10 of the year list.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it, as weird as it was, and as much of I didn't quite get. The performances, the going, how much crazier can this get? And yeah, it does get crazier and crazier. It kept my interest. So if I give it a B, I'm going to guess you're going to... Can you give a negative? What are you going to give this?
Yeah, so again, I'm going to give this a really bad score in a second, but it's not... this isn't one of the movies that I saw and I was like, if you like this, I think you're kind of a pansy. Honestly, I think that I'm probably reading too much into this, and I stopped myself from enjoying this movie, and I'm frustrated with myself for that. But I simply cannot help but see some glaring problems with this movie.
Oh boy, here it comes. Can I guess? Can I guess?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna guess a 2.
This movie's gonna get a 1.
Wow.
Yeah, this movie's gonna get a 1.
Oh, jeez, that's as...
Yeah.
That's as I'm just double checking. Yeah, that's as low as you can go, unless you're gonna split it and go like 0.5s or something.
That's as low as I go. Yeah.
Oh man, holy moly, Jackson. All right.
Listen again. Beautiful looking movie. Cast was phenomenal. Don't stop me from watching this movie. I really do recommend you see it. If any of what we talked about sounds interesting, at a minimum, it's got us talking. With that being said, could not be less directed towards me as a viewer.
Wow. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Saltburn. It did not do well at the theaters. As we're going to talk about in just a second, it did okay at the Golden Globes, but certainly there were some snubs, at least by some, in there as well. As far as next week, again, we got our top 5 lists, best and worst Marvel movies of all time. There's some new films that we have screeners for. Also, some ones opening in theaters. Wonka, American Fiction.
I am going to see Wonka on Saturday because they're showing it at my school. So I will have an early review of Wonka supposedly next time.
Fantastic. Iron Claw is out there as well, getting ready to open. So not to mention a lot of the other nominated films that we're making our ways around to. We obviously, when it comes to Oscar time, we get very much into Oscars. We make our predictions, who we think should win, who we think will win. We don't really get that deep into the Golden Globes. They're kind of the precursor, the Hollywood Foreign Press, A lot of the times they're kissing ass, but I did think we would at least go over them very quickly and just give some of our initial thoughts. In no particular order here, Jackson. I'm not going to list all the animated movies. It's good to be a 2-person race between The Boy and the Heron and Spider-Man Across the Universe. I remember you mentioned something where you think Spider-Man's a lock for this. I think Boy and the Heron is getting a lot of heat, and 2, I feel like there might be a little bit of been there, done that, since Spider-Man, the first one, Multiverse, won a couple years ago. You don't think so, though? You think Spider-Man still got the upper hand?
I mean, listen, I love Studio Ghibli. They've made some of my favorite movies, and Hayao Miyazaki, who directed Boy and the Heron, is one of my favorites. And I would love to see him win this award. But I think that Across the Spider-Verse was such a cultural event that I think that they might take that into account in their voting. But
you never know.
So it's up in the air. I'm not very strong in that opinion.
Okay. Well, I'll be curious after you see The Boy and the Heron tomorrow, whether or not you still stand by that. This is an interesting one. The Golden Globes is trying to follow the Oscars in their category of best popular film. They're calling it Cinematic and Box Office Achievement Award. Your nominees are John Wick, The Third Guardians of the Galaxy, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour, Super Mario Brothers, Spider-Man Across the Universe, and the Dead Reckoning Mission Impossible movie. This is a 2-person race. My gut immediately says 100% it's Barbie.
Agreed completely.
But I wonder if Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour couldn't be the dark horse
Really?
here because so many people went to that theater and it was a sing-along thing.
Yeah,
it almost
ruined my goddamn viewing of Killing of a Flower Moon. Good Lord.
So my gut says it has to be Barbie, but I wouldn't be surprised, especially they're going to want to see Taylor Swift on stage just to get her, it may not be enough just to have her in the room. I don't know. Everything else, good luck. You're not going to touch Barbie.
Yeah,
actor in a drama, Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Andrew Scott for All of Us Strangers, one of those smaller films we need to see. Coleman Domingo and Rustin. Everything I hear about Rustin is just about Coleman Domingo. I don't hear a lot about the movie itself. Barry Koenig for Saltburn, Leonardo DiCaprio in Killers, Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer. The only real big snub anyone's talking about here is Adam Driver for Ferrari, who's not on the list, and I thought he was great, but I don't, from the ones I've seen...
I'm trying to think back to who...
I don't know.
You can maybe make the argument that Jacob Elordi for Priscilla.
Oh, really? You saw Priscilla. I did not. You enjoyed it.
I thought he was great in that.
Yeah.
I thought he was great in that, personally. But I honestly, looking at that list, I mean, besides, I haven't heard of Rustin until just right now.
Yeah.
So I would say maybe him over that, but then again, I haven't seen that, so I can't comment.
Yeah, I don't have any problems. My first gut instinct just looking at this is probably Leonardo, but I think...
Really? I think Cillian Murphy's got it locked.
All right. Okay. Where else are we? Best drama. I'm just kind of going randomly down the list here. This is interesting. The Zone of Interest made best drama. Oppenheimer, Past Lives. Okay, I am so excited how well. I mean, you know my love for Past Lives. Of course. It got so many nominations. I'm so happy for that.
I was so happy too. I knew you'd be happy about that.
Yeah. Anatomy of a Fall, Maestro, Killers of the Flower Moon. I guess if you said there was a snub here, maybe Saltburn was expected to, but it did not.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else.
I know you're excited to see The Zone of Interest.
I could not be more excited. That might be my most highly anticipated movie of the year.
Wow, you better set your watch your expectations though. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think it's fairly safe to see right now without having Zone of Interest coming out yet. I would say this is a two-person race between Oppenheimer and Killers of the Flower Moon. I would agree. That's my gut instinct. Comedy or musical movie, you got The Holdovers, which I just reviewed earlier. I enjoyed it very much. It's a very sweet film. American Fiction, I've heard is hilarious. I've not seen it yet. May December is the big controversy here because it's not a comedy. Nothing remotely funny, and certainly there was no musical numbers in there. This is studio manipulation 101, and I hate it.
It's like when what that Mars movie got. Remember that? It was best comedy.
Yeah.
With God, what the hell was that movie even called? The Martian?
The Martian, yeah.
Yeah, The Martian.
There's like 2 funny scenes in it, so it's a comedy. Barbie's in there, obviously, as well. Poor Things, which Jackson and I did an earlier review in a couple of weeks, and we both really enjoyed. And Air, which I just thought was abysmal. I mean, well acted, but I could care less about the story of a sneaker. If there's any snubs here, I think it would be the 2 big musicals that came out this month, and that's The Color Purple and Wonka. Neither one, both musicals.
Wonka's a musical?
Yes. You didn't know that?
All right, guys. Maybe rain check on that earlier review of Wonka.
maybe you're not seeing Wonka. No, it's
damn.
I'm pretty sure it's a musical. So that's kind of shocking, although I've heard really bad things on The Color Purple.
I have to.
Yeah. I don't think anyone... this is all Barbie. You bet on anything besides Barbie, you're an idiot.
Yeah, but also, like...
I know you love Poor Things.
I really want to see Poor Things.
I know, but...
I think it is a way funnier movie, to me, personally. Yeah. I think that if we're looking at it from a comedy perspective, which one made me laugh more? Like, ostentatiously, Poor Things. Mark Ruffalo... Did Mark Ruffalo even get nominated for Poor Things?
Speaking of supporting actor in a movie, we have Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things, Robert De Niro, Killers of Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. in Oppenheimer, Willem Dafoe in Poor Things, so we got 2 people from Poor Things. Ryan Gosling as Ken in Barbie. And then Charles Melton, the gentleman I spoke about earlier, from May, December. So for him, it's an honor just to be in the category. So
yeah, it's one of the. He's new. I don't mind that though. Like,
yeah,
you pay the dues.
Yeah, 120%. If I pick someone from this category, and I have not seen Robert De Niro's performance yet, I'm sure he's fantastic. He always is. But I loved Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things. I mean. I would love it if Mark Ruffalo won for Poor Things. I think that this is absolutely a race between Ryan Gosling and De Niro.
No, and
really? Robert
Downey Jr.
Really? Oh.
Robert Downey had a great performance in that, and I think that he's got a lot of heat as like he did his time in the Marvel, and now it's like this is his big one. You know, it's now or nothing for him.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
That's how I read that personally.
Yeah, but most likely, let's be honest, it's probably going to be Ryan Gosling.
Most likely.
Actress in a musical or comedy. You got Emma Stone in Poor Things. Fantasia Barrino. She gets a nomination for The Color Purple, even though the movie's shut out. Alma Poistidi from a foreign film called Fallen Leaves. Hey, Alma, welcome to the party. Enjoy your seat, and the chicken dinner's free.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah. That's not going anywhere. I'll see it though. I plan on trying to get through all the foreign films before we start getting to the season. Yeah,
I will as well. Natalie Portman, who really was fantastic in May, December, but nobody's going to touch Margot Robbie in Barbie. If there's a lock on this page,
it's over.
It's Emma Stone. You can love her in Poor Things. No one's taking away.
She's so goddamn good in that movie, though. She's
also,
so good in that.
Also, I forgot to mention, this is great. Jennifer Lawrence was also nominated in that category for No Hard Feelings. Yeah, I like No Hard Feelings, but I'm not nominating her for a Golden Globe for that.
Yeah.
Supporting actress in a movie, there's Danielle Brooks, also from The Color Purple. No chance because the movie is just dead. Divine Joy Randolph, she's the woman I mentioned from The Holdovers. I thought she was very good. I don't know about great. Julianne Moore is fantastic as always in May, December, but this is not a supporting role, by the way. She's great, but her and Natalie Portman, they're the equal size role. It's so stupid that one of them has to be lead, one of them has to be supporting.
That does blow.
Emily Blunt for her work in Oppenheimer. Rosamund Pike, who I thought was fantastic in Saltburn, no matter what you think. And
was she the daughter?
The mother, the mom.
Yeah, she was. Performances were phenomenal. Again, I think they did a great job.
Yeah, Rosamund Pike is the mom. And Jodie Foster for that swimming biopic, Naiad. Again, Jodie Foster's beloved, but nobody saw Naiad. There's a lot of snubs in this category. A lot of people say Viola Davis should have been nominated for her work as Michael Jordan's mom in Air. Sandra Huller, who is nominated, coming up in a bit in another category, but did not get nominated for The Zone of Interest. They say that she's very good in that.
Oh, is she in that too?
She is, yes.
Oh, God, I didn't think I could get more excited for this movie.
Yeah.
And it just keeps getting better.
America Ferrara was snubbed as well for her monologue, we should say, in Barbie. I gotta tell you though, for me, the biggest snub on this one is Penelope Cruz in Ferrari. For that movie being as average as it was, Penelope Cruz is unbelievably good in that.
Who do you think this goes to?
This is a toss up for me. If I had to guess, it'll probably go to Emily Blunt.
That is also my choice for this category.
I have a feeling that's where I think it would probably go, unless something changes dramatically. I was speaking of Sandra Huller, who was snubbed for Best Supporting Actress in The Zone of Interest, but she was nominated for Best Actress in a Drama in Anatomy of a Fall, along with Greta.
So good in that.
Yeah, along with Greta Lee from Past Lives, Lily Gladstone from Killers of the Flower Moon, Annette Bening, also from Naiad, Carey Mulligan for Maestro, and Kaylee Spawney for Priscilla. Now, I didn't see Priscilla. I have not seen Maestro yet. That's on my list this week. And you have raved about Lily Gladstone, so I don't know if I'm really qualified to pick anything right now. Obviously, I love Greta Lee, and I can't imagine anyone beating her in my mind, but I don't know. You tell me. Lily is fantastic.
I love Greta Lee, and I think that I think that she probably had my favorite performance on this list. This is Lily Gladstone's award to lose.
Got it.
I think that she was so good in that, and also I just think that it's overdue. You know.
Yeah. Actor in a couple more here. We're almost done. Actor in a musical. Look at this. Nicolas Cage in Dream Scenario. A movie that I really want to see. It's the only nomination
I'm excited to see that, yeah.
Is Nicolas Cage. Paul Giamatti in The Holdovers, who's fantastic. Matt Damon is very good in Air. I just didn't care for the movie. Here's a weird one. Timothée Chalamet in the unnominated Wonka in any other category, but as an actor, he gets a nomination. And
every scene I've seen from that movie in promo is it's not it just seems so uninspired.
It's delightful. It's candelicious. It's a Wonka bar. I don't know. Was anyone begging for that? Was anyone begging for it?
No.
We've had two Charlie and the Chocolate Factories. We need a prequel to it. We need a young Willy Wonka.
He's the prequel to Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder.
No.
Gene Wilder.
Yeah, doesn't fly.
No way.
Also for actor in a musical or comedy, Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction. And look at this, Joaquin Phoenix, not for Napoleon because that didn't get anything. Beau is Afraid gets a nomination. Are they scraping the barrel, Jackson, or is he really deserving of this?
I think he was great in that movie.
Yeah.
I would love to see him win that, actually. I wouldn't mind that at all.
Yeah.
He won't, but I would love it if he would.
Yeah. I'm going to give the hand to Paul Giamatti right now. He just is not won anything ever. He's got such a body of work. He's loved by everybody. I think in a lesser year, he wouldn't stand a chance with his performance, but I think out of these, it probably is going to stand out. Foreign language film, Me, Captain, Society of the Snow, The Zone of Interest, Fallen Leaves, which we mentioned earlier, for the actress who was nominated, Past Lives, we all know how I feel about that, and another very good film, Anatomy of a Fall. This is, I think, one of the most interesting contests of the entire Golden Globes, because I think Zone of Interest, Past Lives, and Anatomy of a Fall all have a really good shot at this.
Agreed. And this is without having seen Zone of Interest, but just it's got buzz.
It's got a lot of buzz. So unless something goes horribly wrong,
yeah.
Best screenplay. This is the script. You got Barbie, of course. Poor Things, I think, well deserved as well. Oppenheimer, also deserving of it. Killers of the Flower Moon, Past Lives, and Anatomy of a Fall. If there's any snubs here, it's probably The Holdovers or maybe Saltburn, but I wouldn't substitute either one of those for. I think this is a tough.
Agreed. I think this is a
tough category.
Yeah, I can see this again, and I'm biased because I wasn't. I think that from a screenplay perspective, for me personally, I think that everything but Barbie has a equal
shot.
Eyes.
What if Barbie wins?
And it might, and I wouldn't be mad about that. But I think that when I look at like the screenplays that I thought were like really stood out to me, it's everything but for me.
Yeah. And then finally, your best director, they went with, we got two women back on the list. There was such a outburst last year, hardly any women anywhere. At least we got two more on there. We got Greta Gerwig of Barbie, Bradley Cooper of Maestro, Martin Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon, Yorgos Lanthimos, Poor Things, Celine Song, that's such a pleasant surprise, for Past Lives, and then, of course, Christopher Nolan for the brilliant Oppenheimer. If there's a snub here, you could make an argument for Alexander Payne and The Holdovers, maybe Emerald Fennell for Saltburn. But I think another tough category, but I don't see anyone beating Greta Gerwig for this. I think that she took a subject that everyone thought was not going to be made into a film and turned it into a phenomenon. That's not to take anything away. I'm not saying it is the best directing achievement this year, but
I see what you're saying.
I think with Christopher Nolan, they're going to go, we're going to get him on another one. I think with Scorsese, they've been there, done that with this. Bradley Cooper, nice try. It was just a prestige piece. Yorgos, I just think Poor Things is too out there for some people. Celine Song, it's an honor to be nominated. I think they're going to give it to Greta Gerwig.
See, this is why I suck at this, is because I agree with you, but like in my heart of hearts,
right.
I want someone else to win.
Okay, so listen to me. Since we're talking about it now, because we don't do official predictions and all that. We save it for the Oscars. This is probably the last time we'll talk about the Globes, except a reactionary thing when we go like, that sucked, that one. when the Oscars come out and we pick who we would pick and who we think will win, you have to.
I know, but it's so difficult because I'm like, I think that this movie had better screenwriting or better directing or better acting. But I have such a hard time getting the mentality of but who's gonna win though?
I know, but when you're filling out your ballot and we're sitting here going over it, you can do this with every one. You can go, okay, best director. Okay, I swear I would pick Christopher Nolan. He was fantastic. Oppenheimer, it's a masterpiece. It's Christopher Nolan. And then I go, who are you gonna pick? You gotta go.
I'm so bad at this.
I think Greta Gerwig's gonna win. You have
in my defense, we have 3 pretty difficult ones because it's like, okay, do we go with Greta Gerwig, who Barbie was huge, massive box office success, critically and loved by audiences.
Yeah.
You have the Christopher Nolan stylized biopicture about a World War II like nuclear scientist.
I know.
Or the Martin Scorsese based on a true story, historical Native American. It's like I can see the Academy going for any of those three. They all make sense for an Oscar-winning picture. It's just like, what? Okay. So that's when I have to turn to me and go, well, what did you like best? And then it's tough.
So listen, the Oscar nominations come out in a few weeks. And then you have 2 months before the ceremony in February. Okay? Take those 2 months to get out of your heart and into your head. Put your ear to the put your ear to the grindstone and listen to what's being told to you. What are you hearing about? What is everyone? Who's winning the early ones? Who's winning the early awards? And then go, where's the trend going? And then maybe you pick a long shot. You pick 1, maybe 2 long shots where you go, I don't know, maybe that old Julianne Moore will beat Natalie Portman, and you just
wow. What was that voice?
I don't know. That's my.
I just got punched in the balls and sucked down helium.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
The Golden Globes are kind of stupid. That's what they are. All right, we're gonna be back.
Watch.
We're gonna be back next week with tons of movies, hopefully, because he's winding up finals and. We got a boatload of screeners to watch and a couple new films. I want to go see Godzilla on the big screen. We should do that next weekend when you're home. Just for fun.
I'm game. I'm there.
Go see Godzilla. That strikes me.
We both love Shin Godzilla. As far as I remember, I like Shin Godzilla a lot.
Yeah.
So for another foreign Godzilla film, I'm all in because the Americans have been screwing the pooch, man. It's been nothing but.
You don't like Matthew Broderick being chased by little mini Godzillas?
Oh, geez. That franchise has been
destroyed many times.
Neutered.
Many times over. My name is Regan Burns. You can follow me on Instagram at Regan.Burns. Please follow us on Instagram as well, the PGN Podcast. Please like and give us 5 stars on whatever platform you are listening or watching this. And Jackson, where can they follow you? Oh, by the way, before you plug your stuff, Jackson, I'm so excited. This Thursday, I'm going to go see a film that Jackson has been working very, very hard on, screening on a big screen. Yeah. When and is that going to be available for other people to see? Is that something that will eventually go up somewhere, or is it like, nope, that's never going to be seen?
It will eventually go out somewhere, but it might be a while.
It might be a while.
It might be a while for that.
All right.
It's done. It's done. It's just I don't know what the producer wants to do as far as festivals go, and you can't officially release something until it's gone through the circuit. So
got you. And can you tell us the name of it?
It's called I'm Really, Really, Really Good. If you want to see my work on it, I have the stills up on my Instagram at Jackson and Burns. I DP'd it. I worked really hard on it.
Yeah. So make sure to follow Jackson on all platforms, the TikTok and Instagram. At Jackson N. Burns. Also check out his podcast, the Good Enough Podcast, especially if you want to hear and some of his boys break down all the new music of the week. I will be back here next week with an exclusive early review of It's a Really, Really, Really... what's it?
I'm really, really, really good.
I'm really, really good. I'm gonna have a review of I'm really, really good.
I thought you were gonna say It's a Wonderful Life.
Wouldn't it be great if I came back next week and okay, let's start with what I liked about I'm really, 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 really good. It was in focus. Yeah. It was in focus, and I'll be back next week for a little reaction and let you know how his big screening went. as well as everything else. In the meantime, thank you so much for listening. Subscribe to our channels, and we will be back sometime next week with more movie talk. Until then, everyone take care. Love you, buddy.
Love you too. Peace.